Well, welcome to Signs of Life, the show where we find hope in the headlines. My name is Chase Tremere, and I'm so glad that you are watching or listening today. Now, you may be asking yourself, this is the first episode of a new podcast. Why another podcast? Well, the truth is this. We want to create content around the things that you're talking about. We want to find hope in the headlines, really, everything you're seeing in your world. And we want to laugh about it, maybe shed a tear, but have some helpful conversations and discussions. All of this fueled by our faith. So who is we? Well, let me introduce you to two of our hosts. We've got my wonderful wife, Serena Tremere.
Hey.
And we have also Miss Montana Christofferson.
Hey, everyone.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Serena, why don't you start off and tell us why are you excited about Signs of Life?
Yes, my name is Serena Tremere. I am not only your wife, I am also a licensed professional counselor, mother to 2 kids, 1 on the way, so almost 3 kids.
Yep.
And I'm excited about this podcast to have a voice and a spot at the table because a lot of the conversations that we're going to have, yes, it's about things that we're going to find in articles that are relevant going on in the world today about, oh my God, like every topic you could imagine, but from different perspectives, from different generations, different genders, just different backgrounds. And I hope to bring a unique lens that, involves therapy and mental health and bring a voice for that. And I love that. That excites me. So that's why I'm excited about the podcast. What about you?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's just a great podcast for people my generation. I feel like a lot of podcasts can be super heavy or they're super funny, but I like that we have a good mix.
Yeah, a really good balance.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be super fun, and I get to be next to you.
Yeah,
and that makes me happy.
Yeah,
so
me too.
It's gonna be a good time.
That's
and we get to
great.
tag team on Chase.
That's gonna be the best
Good
part.
luck.
Sometimes
sure.
Toby.
I am stacked up with things ready to go for you two.
Are you?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Well, today, part of the show, the reason we're doing this is there's conversations that are happening. We have conversations, off camera, and we know people are out there thinking about things and asking questions and having responses. And this is a great place for us to do that together, to welcome people to this discussion with us, to hear from them, for them to be able to hear from us, and to really build a community around who we are as people, right? Around who we are, the stories that we bring, the things that have happened in our past, the things that we're learning. And like we said, all of that really tied back to who we are faith-wise. Who is it that I am? Who do I believe that I am? Who do I believe that God thinks I am? And all of that really gives me a lens and a perspective on what I'm seeing in the world. And right now, this is our first episode. It's also the first week of a new year. And so today, I want to talk about what probably a lot of people are talking about, whether it's in a positive way or a negative way. But right now, there's lots of conversations around New Year's resolutions. So whether it's a resolution, whether it's a goal, all of us are thinking about it, whether you're trying to avoid it or whether you've got a long list of them. And I'm a person who likes resolutions. I'd like to make a little goal to-do list. Oftentimes I fail pretty quickly at all of them, which we'll talk about. But I found this article from the New York Times that really talks about going beyond, right? Thinking bigger in 2022 about resolutions. What was really interesting to me about this article, and it's a conversation I've heard too as well, is to not just think about goals and the things you're doing, but really think about the person you're becoming. And that's not just, I did this thing, so now I'm that thing, but really like the systems that are in your life that are building this character inside of you. And what was interesting in this article, a quote that jumped out to me, the writer says this. He says, "The deeper problem, as my father would put it, is the triumph of hope over expectation. The only way to change the path of expectation is to face and dissect why our resolutions failed before. That road leads to many unexpected destinations far beyond willpower." And I love that quote because that line of hope over expectation, the battle I have coming into a new year, especially my Enneagram type's a 3, like my personality type is this achiever, this performer. I expect to do all these things, like to get things right all of a sudden and to start doing things I've never done that are going to make me the best human ever. When the reality is like those expectations end up failing pretty quickly because I run out of willpower, or I don't really think about my schedule. I don't think about the time I have. I don't manage my energy well. But the truth is, like, what am I really hoping in? Am I hoping to become something greater than I am now? Do I have a hope for me, a hope in Jesus that says, hey, you may do some great things, you may not, but can you take it a step at a time and really focus on the person you're becoming? That to me is bigger thinking than just achieving some goals.
Yeah.
So as you guys think about resolutions, you think about kind of that line or this article that you've seen now, like what do you guys think about when you think of this idea of thinking bigger beyond just a goal list for a resolution?
Well, when I read this, and you shared this article with us, the first thing that came to my mind was this, in 2021, over the past year, I started a little food program called Noom. And that is it's just an app that focuses on the psychology of your relationship with food. And I had this desire to improve my relationship with food. And a lot of times we think that, like, you know, we're either a good or a bad eater, or, you know, we have good or bad habits. But really, it was just my relationship with food that was still poor. You know, I don't have to be on an extreme spectrum to have a poor relationship with something. And so when I was doing this Noom deal, I quickly fell in love with it because it was about the very system of my relationship with myself, essentially. And so I had a goal. Yes, I had a goal. I wanted to reach a certain number on the scale. I wanted to feel a certain way in my body and in my clothes. But I couldn't just focus on that thing. I had to go in very small, intuitive ways, listening to my body, giving myself preparation and time, and make diligent efforts in making small changes so that I wouldn't fail myself. And if I did fall short, I would met myself with compassion, and I had a hope in the system that I had created, right? So I would prepare my food. I was what they call a storm eater, where I won't eat all day because I'm so busy, and then come like 3 o'clock, I'll just like binge on anything, and then feel like super bloated. And so I had to learn my system, and that set me up to succeed. And it wasn't success in this, now I have like abs and I'm like, you know, like all this. It was just like, I feel better, you know? And so making small changes helped me achieve success in much smaller ways and much sooner, because I understood my success wasn't about reaching the number on the scale. My success was, hey, you know what? I did it today. Like, I did mostly what would set me up to succeed today. I didn't storm eat or whatever it was. And so that's what I kind of think of. Like, you have to, like, when you think bigger, when I thought of that, I was like, I wasn't just thinking about a number or a very limited goal. I was thinking about my whole relationship with myself and food and my day and my choices.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what I
good.
thought of.
I felt like I immediately started to realize that I kind of hate goals, I think. I don't know. I think the new year, it's exciting, and I think it's a great opportunity, sure, to have it's 1-1. Like, there's nothing more beginning than that. So, you know, that can be good as far as starting something new. But I think, you know, we were talking the other day, like, what makes today different than yesterday? Like, nothing about the date is different. And when I was about thinking bigger, a lot of goals we set for ourselves seem to be, you know, I have to do this, and I have to be this, and I have to look this way, or dress this way, or feel this way. But like, we don't have to do any of those things to still feel like ourselves, or to still feel accomplished for something.
Right, like, what are we trying to get back to, though, by setting these goals,
and
you know?
honestly, just a lot of people set themselves up for failure, like you were saying, and I don't like the thought of 3 months from now, like, half of the world is going to be totally disappointed in themselves and just feel bad. Like, that's not really the year I want to go into. And it kind of reminded me of this TikTok trend going around that I want to share with y'all. It's really about the whole idea of becoming that girl. That's kind of the setup. So let's watch it.
That girl.
Feel like sun on my skin. So this is love. I know it is.
So I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I don't really like those videos. There's nothing wrong with eating healthier and working out more, obviously. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that it's like everyone's goal in 2022 to become that girl, feels like
And that girl is
like who? What? Like,
right. Who defines
You're
that?
saying
girl?
it's not yourself.
idol that is being set up
Yeah.
of that, like super healthy, working out every day, going to the grocery store every week,
Yeah.
and only buying vegetables,
time
which
for
is a
that?
lie.
And,
Which is a lie.
and
that's
once
just,
I
no one's
once I
only doing
achieve that, you use the word idol. I think is a really great word to use because it's like having this hope in. Once I achieve that, then I will have happiness.
Right.
You know, and then I will be fulfilled, and then I will have value and worth, and that's just a load of crap.
Yeah. Slippery slope
Like
down.
I have value and worth when I eat veggies and when I don't. You know, but
True.
like chasing this vision that society highly values, right? That like of success, of beauty, of all those things that are not bad things, but I
Sure.
think can be really
Toxic.
and damaging to our culture and to young people, and not even young people, just anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
You know, if I'm not doing that, then man, I am just a big fat load of crap on the couch.
Literally.
I'm not that girl. I'm just not that girl.
Can I be that girl, or is there that
Go for
boy
it.
or something, that guy?
You have to wake up at 8 a.m. and you have to work out
Done.
this many times
On
and
it.
all the things.
Literally, if that was our standard, I am a complete
You're not
failure.
that girl.
I am
Not it.
opposite
Not
of that. Like, no way.
And I think what's interesting, there's two sides of that argument. You know, there's the flip side of that is like it's not bad to achieve these things
No
or
way.
to get better, but it's the question of, can you start with who you are? Can you be settled and content with your identity?
Yeah.
Can you believe what is true about you? Can you fight against the lies? Like this, for instance, it's okay if you're not that girl, and just because you don't do all of those things doesn't make you any less. But at the same time, once you've settled in that, then you ask yourself,
Yeah.
what is it that I'm trying to accomplish?
And
where am
why?
I trying to grow?
Yeah.
Not taking on someone else's goals. I see people
Exactly.
post, what are your resolutions this year? I want to take some. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
wanna
Why do you want
take
someone else's resolutions?
Steal them from me.
Right.
But really, like, who is it that you are, and what is it that you want to accomplish? I know this term growing up, heard all the time, a churchy term, sanctification, and it's this idea of daily, slowly progressing, getting better, becoming, for me, more like Jesus. And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong, but it's a daily battle of saying, okay, I'm going to choose this thing over that.
Yeah.
And that to me is a healthy way of getting better at something. But it all starts with knowing who I am when I wake up. And it's not that girl, it's not someone else, it's knowing my value, who God says I am, and then deciding, okay, if I know that truth, if I'm settled in that identity, now, okay, who is it that I want to be?
Yeah.
Who do I want to become?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend. How
What
can
kind
I
of
be
father?
better
What
at those
kind
things?
of, yeah, exactly. And you
exactly.
define that based off of where you find your source of worth and value. But like when, like I see that, and it just makes me ask the question, like, what kind of culture am I trying to bring into 2022? Because 2020, you know, we went pandemic, and everyone decided, not everyone, that's a generalization, but a large group of people were like, I'm gonna remodel my house, and I'm gonna pick up this hobby, and I'm gonna this. And it's like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm just trying to survive,
Yeah.
you know? And so you can easily fall into that comparison trap. And then 2021 was kind of similar, and now it's like, what do I really want to bring into it? And
Yeah.
I want to bring in healthier traits. I want to be a better version of myself. But the whole new year, new you resolution, that mentality, I have not ever really jumped on that train. It's just not really been my thing. It's like, if I want to do something, I work best if I just say, I'm going to do it. Like when I decided to run a half marathon, I woke up one morning and I was like, if I don't say to my accountability, that's a hard word, accountability friends, I'm going to do it, help me do it, then I'm never going to do it. So I just have to do it. It's like, and I have to start then. But like I found this article from this psychiatrist, Dr. Wendy Oliver Pyatt, and she specializes in eating disorder, wellness, and treatment. And she writes this article that just like could have come from my own brain and mind, my heart, because she said, why it's time to drop the new year, new you, BS. Thank you, Wendy. And learn to accept yourself. Now, not everyone is going to feel this way. This is just how I feel, and I agree with this article, okay? And just a brief recap. of the article, she talks about how it's a new year and there's this, the mentality that we've been talking about, and how it can really be very damaging to a lot of people because it can set us up for failure. We create these really large goals. A lot of times it's out of the motivation to seek a perfect view of ourselves. And we don't know how to accept when we fall short, right? Like our humanness and life that comes up, and having more unrealistic goals and views of ourselves that leave us feeling really defeated, disappointed with ourselves or even with the systems, right? And so she talks about a skill in what's called dialectical behavioral therapy. That's just the fancy words, the psychotherapy model that we use. But one of the skills that we teach in DBT therapy is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is, sometimes people hear the word acceptance and they're like, so I just need to accept everything bad that happens, and and that's not what this is. But radical acceptance is simply saying, I'm living in the moment. I accept the body that I'm in. And this is just in relation to body and things like that, but it could be anything. Accepting who you are, what you're feeling, even the distress that may come up, your strengths, your weaknesses, accepting it as it is and meeting yourself with compassion, non-judgment, right? And then saying, what can I do to pick up from here, right? So radical acceptance is saying to the world, like, your recovery, your healing, your growing is not linear. It's not going to look like this. It's not going to be a straight shot up. It's going to be ups and downs, and the downs don't mean backwards. It just means it's a down. And you know what comes next is we just keep going forward. But forward isn't like this, right? And so radical acceptance is saying, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is what happened when I did storm eat back, in the day, and I had been doing great. It wasn't this assault on my growth and my progress. It was, okay, that didn't feel great. So what can I do to start again, right? Making another choice, one choice at a time. That's radical acceptance. And she talks about that and how in taking on that approach to ourself, to our view of our body, to our self-image, to anything in life, that essentially is better than any resolution we could try and aim for.
That's good.
But I don't know, what are y'all's thoughts?
I think that's really good, but my first thought is, like, that's really hard.
It is.
Like, I can see myself, like, trying to do that.
No, it is.
And then totally being like, oh, man, I suck.
I
like,
didn't do it.
failed.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me a bad person, which is not true.
Sure.
But that can be really hard. Is there anything that, like, what can make that easier for somebody?
So
What's a practical way
Yeah.
to start
to
that?
start. So
Yeah.
these are great questions because radical acceptance, remember, it's a skill. It's not something that we just
Have
No,
it.
instantly.
have, yeah, and comes naturally. It's something that we have to continually pursue and grow in. So some very practical ways is, I talked about it a little bit, but meeting ourselves with self-compassion. Okay, so when accepting that we're human, that means not a perfect human, just a human. And so you mentioned one thing just now. You're like, if I don't do this right, then I'm a bad person, right? Like, woo!
Got her.
Right? So we gotta
Ding, ding, ding.
we gotta really move away from that like assault on ourselves, right? That I am defined by my actions, good or bad. Like meeting ourselves with self-compassion is just more so having that forgiveness and kindness. She talks about an approach that she uses with her clients. It's called CTLB, and she'll say, it's a term that she coined, which basically stands for choosing the loving behavior. Okay, so CTLB, so in this situation, what would be the loving behavior that I could choose? Is it I'm a bad person? Or if I chose the loving behavior, what would that sound like or look like, right? That's one way to recap, like a very practical, radical acceptance thing you could do to start practicing that gradually.
Yeah.
Right?
Choosing the loving behavior.
Choosing the loving
This sounds kind of
behavior.
elementary, but in my head, I imagined like what you'd want your mom to say to you.
Sure.
Like they're come and hug you and like, it's okay, you know? Like we have tomorrow. We have a whole new day to
Yeah.
try to be.
You have as much time as you need to just like calm down, or
Calm down.
make a new choice, or okay,
Yeah.
like choosing the loving behavior for yourself. Like that is a huge skill, and it sounds simple, but it's a really big thing.
Yeah.
Because then you start catching like, whoa, how unloving am I actually to myself, especially in relation to the new year and to goals and resolutions. And
Now, this sounds like this applies to you. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But this sounds like this applies to everyone.
everyone.
Like this is a way, like radically accepting everybody. I think about stories of people who, within their own families, even like they chose loving behavior with people living in a different way than they live, but that has produced better fruit in their life.
Yeah.
They're not trying to win an argument that gets them nowhere.
Right.
They're now seen as this loving person. I think that idea of radically accepting people, radical acceptance is huge, and then choosing loving behavior. I love that.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
can all look for ways within ourselves, within our family, with our friends, our community, even people we don't know, to choose loving behavior. Like that's something we can go do today. You can go do that right now.
I mean, I had to
And
do
that
it this
makes
morning when
world
I was
better.
getting dressed. I felt like a whale. Like I stand in my closet and I'm like, I feel like I wear the same 3 things, and I'm pregnant and I'm approaching 3rd trimester, and you just feel like, ugh. Like, so even if you have genuine like disdain in your body or genuine like discomfort in a situation, like it's not saying that, disregard that and just accept how you are. Like, it's not that. It's just saying like, so how can I choose the loving behavior to myself in this moment? It's like, hey, well, you know what? Wear a big sweater that makes you feel comfy. I'm going to do that. Like, and so that was my choice, and I felt better in that.
You look beautiful, by the way, babe.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
But it helps to really cope with difficult emotions in a non-judgmental way. So
Good.
awesome.
That's good. Well, part of the show, what we want to do is have conversations with people watching and listening. We want to answer their questions. So in the future, we're going to have this kind of mailbag time where we'll have one of you guys, whether it's a comment on social media, whether you email in a question you have about something on the show or just something going on in your life. And we want to answer that question. We want to bring some people on the show to help answer that question. So we don't have a question today, which is okay though.
It's our first episode.
It is our first episode, but we do want to introduce you to Toby Slau. Toby, get over here.
Yeah, Toby.
Toby's been a huge part of all of our lives, really a mentor. I'm like a second father, really, and loads and loads of wisdom. Like helped me from walking off ledges sometimes, holding
To
back
picking
things
you
I
up
shouldn't
after
say.
you
Did walk
Fell.
off the ledge. Yes.
Exactly.
Like when you put that sweater on today,
Well,
I wasn't
there
there
we
to
go.
rescue you.
There
You
we
weren't
go.
there, and I didn't have the patience. So.
I think my sweater's great. Y'all can let me know. It's a hoodie, by the way. Sweaters.
It's a hoodie.
It's okay.
I'm old.
But as you have even listened, Toby, from your point of view, as we've talked about resolutions, as we talked about the person we're becoming, radical acceptance, what are some of the thoughts, what are some of the things you've been challenged with in your life when it comes to starting something new or starting even a new year?
Well, for me, I grew up in a very performance-based, and because I'm a 3, I mean, you give right into that, which is a huge part of, I think, my battles with anxiety in early days was a lot of that performance thing. And then, like in my 30s, which is really interesting to think, because I've been a pastor since the 20s, but in my 30s, like I finally understood the gospel.
Yeah.
Which was not try harder. It was admit you can't and let Jesus help you.
That's good.
Yep.
And so you live in that tension of, that's how I learned to love myself.
Yeah.
I mean, anxiety and all, panic attacks and all, it's like, no, this sucks, but this doesn't make me any less of a person.
Yeah.
But I think you have to live in that tension, right? The tension of I love myself right where I am, yet I want to get better. And there's tension in that, and nobody likes tension. Everybody wants black and white, A to B.
Sure.
And so I just always caution younger folks, especially come to me with these kind of questions. I could say to you, Sip, because I don't call him anything, I call her Sip for another day. Like, just don't fall off the end of either extreme, right?
Right.
Like, don't say, well, I just love me for me, so I'm always going to be a procrastinator. I'm always going to whatever.
Right.
Say, I can love me for me and recognize my flaws and work on them. And if I'll win some and I'll lose some.
And that's radical acceptance. Right there.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
That's
good.
the concept.
That's good. Well, as we wrap up today, I found this last article that was kind of the headline of it really jumped out to me, made me laugh. It said, a New Year's resolution proposal, be more like Ned Flanders. And I don't know about you, Tobe, I always got this growing up as being kind of the churchgoer and then going to Bible school. And I would talk to friends who didn't go to church, didn't have a relationship with God, whatever it might be. And in their mind, like their cultural comparison was, oh, you're basically Ned Flanders. Like you're the good Christian neighbor who cares about everybody. And this article is great. It kind of talks about this idea of we always, growing up as followers of Jesus, tried to avoid being Ned because he's a little corny and he's a little over the top. But the reality is, as it stands today in this new year that we're in, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing to be
No
like
kidding.
Ned, to be who you are, to know what you believe, and to always live that out and be this sort of compassionate, sure, a little bit goofy, but joy-filled person. And they made this little line there that I know you love. They say he's kind of this prototype of a Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Just this kind of
Ted.
encouraging
Come on, Ted.
constantly,
Love
and
Ted.
so as you think about Ned or Ted or just all of us, this challenge of being more like those guys, what sort of jumps out to you? What did you love about Ted Lasso? And what do you think as you think about this new year, not just you or us individually, but just as even this new community of people, why is it important for us to live like this? To live with this sort of joy and compassion for people?
Well, let me say this about it, and I'll answer your question. This would have never been written pre-pandemic.
No, I agree.
It wouldn't have been written. We are so divided. There are many Christians, believers, who are dividing us more, and there are a smaller group who are bringing us together. I mean, my heart is so drawn to this article, Ted Lasso, because it's really been my life-changing mantra. And I don't know where you find yourself in faith. Like, I feel like God talks to me sometimes, not in an audible voice, but it's like a thought that no way could it come from me.
Sure.
And I'd been in a fight with my wife, like a 3-week fight. And I'm sitting on the back porch, you might call it praying. I was just telling God how pitiful life was. And he said this, he said, work your side of the street. And it's radically changed my life. That's what Ned is doing. What I'd say is, man, the answer is like, just be a good person this day and quit worrying about everybody else. Just add value and let go of the need to always be right. It's changed my marriage. It's changed my relationship with my kids. And I think it makes me more like the guy I claim to follow.
That's good.
Just work your side of the street,
Yeah.
wherever he's put you.
That's good.
Good.
You guys have any thoughts over there?
That's really good.
Well, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons, and I've never seen Ted Lasso. So those are my thoughts.
Let your
We
life
have
be
some
changed.
New Year resolutions for you,
We've already watched
Montana.
it
That will
twice.
Be
Goal.
resolved to watch Ted Lasso.
Deal.
So good.
I can do that.
So good. No, I just think that I just really kind of just echo everything that y'all are saying, and I'm excited to bring these conversations going a little bit deeper, not just talking about the headlines, but the hope and the faith-filled conversations that I hope to bring to our audience. And I'm just really excited about it. I'm glad that you get to be spotlighted on here too.
Me too. I'm glad to be with you.
For sure. Well, we want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Once again, I want to encourage you to subscribe, comment. We love to have these conversations beyond the show. So no matter what platform you're listening on, whether you're watching this or if you want to listen, if you're an audio person, this is in a podcast format as well, which you can find anywhere that you would find any of your other podcasts. And we want to encourage you to share it with someone. And something jumped out to you as encouraging. If you know someone who already is struggling with their New Year's resolutions, share this with them. We hope that it's encouraging for you, and we hope it's encouraging for them as well. And we can't wait to be back next week. And if you've got questions about today, things that are going on in your world, headlines that you're seeing that we're not,
Why
please
Chase
share
would
them
wear
with
this
us.
hoodie, why they would make these girls look like they're looking in this. I mean, anything you want to ask.
We would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, y'all.